The first signs were small, barely noticeable to anyone who wasn't paying close attention. On Earth, life continued as normal, but in the vast stretches of space, something was changing. A strange pattern of signals began to filter through humanity's deep space communication systems, a pulse of energy too complex to be natural. It started with a whisper, quiet, almost like static. But then it became a rhythm. A code. Something was out there. And it wasn't random. Captain Elena Ramirez sat at the helm of the Exodus, a flagship of humanity's expanding fleet. Her face was tired, worn from the constant stress of leading humanity's quest for exploration and survival beyond the solar system. But even she couldn't ignore the feeling in her gut as the signal became clearer on the monitors. She could sense that something was approaching. A change was in the air, something dark. The first alert came through on the secondary communication channel. A series of numbers, flashing across the screen, displayed in a format no human language had ever used. It wasn't a mistake. This was no glitch. This was something far more deliberate. And it wasn't just coming from one direction. The signals were being emitted from multiple sources in different parts of the galaxy. Each pulse seemed to echo, growing stronger, louder, and more urgent with each passing second. They were being watched. "Captain," Lieutenant Garcia said, his voice tight, his eyes scanning the data feeds. "These signals, they're not from any known species. We're not sure if they're a warning or a greeting, but they're definitely coming from beyond the edge of our maps." Belena's eyes narrowed as she studied the data. A wave of unease washed over her. It wasn't just that these signals were new and mysterious. They were purposeful, as if someone, or something, was calling out to them, testing their response, testing their readiness. "Where are they coming from?" Elena asked, her voice low. Garcia typed rapidly, bringing up the coordinates. "From the Andromeda Fringe. That's thousands of light years away, Captain. The last probe we sent in that direction was, well, we lost contact years ago. There's nothing out there." Elena felt a chill run down her spine. A part of her wanted to dismiss it as interference or some kind of cosmic anomaly. But the growing sense that something was out there, something intelligent, was undeniable. She had seen too much in her years as a captain to ignore her instincts. "We need to find out what this is," Elena said, her voice resolute. "Prep the Exodus for a deep space reconnaissance mission. We're going to follow the signals." The crew moved quickly. The Exodus, one of humanity's most advanced ships, was designed for exploration and defense, but this mission would push its limits. The unknown stretched out before them like a dark ocean. As the ship's engines powered up, the crew fell into their respective stations, each of them knowing the risks they were about to take. They were about to venture into uncharted space, to follow the signals that had appeared out of nowhere. As the ship moved further into the unknown, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they weren't just searching for answers. They were walking into a trap. Every instinct told her that whatever was on the other side of this mystery wasn't something they were prepared to face. For hours, they traveled through the cold expanse of space, the vastness of the galaxy pressing in on them from all sides. The quiet hum of the Exodus was the only sound in the bridge as Elena watched the stars pass by, feeling the weight of the unknown pressing closer. The crew was tense. The signals had grown more frequent, more intense, but still, they couldn't decipher them. They were too complex, too alien. The more they tried to crack the code, the less sense it made. Then, suddenly, everything changed. "Captain, we're receiving a new transmission," Garcia said, his voice tight with urgency. It's different this time. It's not just a signal. It's a message." Elena's heart skipped a beat. The moment they had been preparing for had arrived. "Play it," she ordered, her voice calm despite the storm brewing inside her. The message crackled through the speakers, low and distorted at first. Then it became clear, and the words that followed sent a ripple of terror through everyone on board. "Humanity, you are not alone." The words were followed by a long pause, a silence that seemed to stretch for eternity. And then came the second part of the message, one that made Alina's blood run cold. "You are being watched. You are being judged." The transmission cut off abruptly, leaving only the faint hum of static behind. The crew sat in stunned silence. No one knew what to say. No one knew what it meant. But Alina knew one thing for sure. They weren't just being observed. Whoever, or whatever, had sent that message was making its presence known. And it wasn't a friendly greeting. "Captain," Garcia said, his voice shaking. "The signals, they're coming from closer now. A lot closer." Alina's breath caught in her throat as the ship's sensors began to display something they had not anticipated. A massive object, approaching them at incredible speed. It wasn't a ship, not like anything they had ever seen. It was a dark, shadowy mass, more like a massive floating structure. An enormous ancient vessel, brimming with an energy that was unlike anything the Exodus had ever encountered. The object appeared on their radar, moving faster than any human ship could. It was clear it wasn't from their galaxy. It wasn't anything from Earth. "Prepare for evasive maneuvers," Alina commanded, her voice steady despite the chaos in her mind. "Get us out of here, now." But it was too late. The object had already locked onto them. A brilliant flash of light erupted across the viewing screen, a beam of pure energy that seemed to reach out like a giant hand. It was not a weapon, though. It wasn't an attack. Not yet. It was a message, a warning. A reminder that they had trespassed into something far beyond their understanding. The Exodus jolted as the energy wave hit them, but their shields held. Barely. The crew scrambled to maintain control of the ship. Alarms blared as the ship's systems flickered, struggling to stay online. "Captain, we can't outrun it," Garcia shouted. "Whatever it is, it's too fast. We're caught." Alina's mind raced. There was no time for second-guessing, no time for hesitation. She had to make a decision, and fast. "Set a course back to Earth," she said, her voice sharp. "We need to warn them. We don't know what we're dealing with, but this is just the beginning." As the Exodus attempted to turn back toward the safety of Earth, Alina's mind raced with one terrifying thought. This was no longer just a warning. This was an invitation. And humanity was about to learn a hard lesson. That the galaxy was not ready for them. That they were about to be thrown into a war they never saw coming. The Exodus raced back toward Earth. But the vastness of space was not something that could be conquered by mere speed. The alien craft, whatever it was, continued to follow them, always lurking just beyond the edge of their sensors. Every time the crew thought they might be free, the shadow of the unknown loomed larger. Captain Alina Ramirez stood at the bridge, her hands tightly gripping the console. She had to remain calm, composed. The crew needed her to be strong. The earlier transmission still echoed in her mind. "You are being watched. You are being judged." Those words were more than just a warning. They were a declaration, a promise that something bigger was coming. Something far beyond humanity's understanding. "Captain, we've lost contact with the other ships," Lieutenant Garcia said, his voice tinged with anxiety. "They're all reporting strange interference. We can't get through to any of the outer colonies. The communications grid is down." "Great," Elena muttered under her breath. She turned to face him. "Keep trying. We need to know if the entire fleet is under attack or if it's just us." The weight of the situation was becoming clearer by the minute. The alien ship, whatever it was, had made its intentions known. It wasn't just an isolated threat. It was everywhere. The Exodus was just the first in a long line of targets, and that message, the cryptic warning, was now a terrifying reality. "Captain," another crew member spoke up from the back of the bridge. "There's something else. The ship, it's altering its trajectory. It's headed straight for Earth. It's not slowing down." Alina's heart dropped. She had been hoping, praying, that it would turn around, that somehow they could escape this unseen enemy. But now it was clear. The enemy was coming for Earth. She turned to Garcia. "What's our current speed?" "We're at maximum velocity, Captain. But it's no use. The alien ship is faster. We can't outrun it." "How much time do we have before it reaches Earth?" Elena asked, trying to control the panic rising in her chest. "Less than 6 hours," Garcia said. "It's moving that fast. We won't even make it back in time to warn Earth." The room went silent. The enormity of their situation hung in the air. Earth had no idea what was coming. Humanity had no idea what was coming. And now, the enemy wasn't just some distant threat on the horizon. It was here. It was real. "We need to act," Elena said, her voice now firm with determination. "If we can't outrun it, then we have to fight. We need to contact Earth immediately and warn them. And we need to figure out what we're dealing with before it's too late." Garcia hesitated, his face pale. "We don't know what we're facing, Captain. We don't even know what that thing is. It's unlike anything we've ever seen." "I know," Elena said quietly. "But we have to try. We can't sit here waiting for it to arrive on Earth's doorstep. We need every resource we can get." The next few hours were a blur of frantic calculations and failed attempts to re-establish communications with Earth. Every time the crew thought they had a connection, it was cut off by the overwhelming interference from the alien ship. They were alone in deep space, and time was running out. But then, just as hope seemed to fade, Lieutenant Garcia's voice cut through the silence. "Captain, we've got something." Elena snapped her head toward him. "What do you mean?" "Something from Earth." Garcia shook his head. "No, it's a message. It's coming through the same frequency as the alien signal. It's strange. Not from Earth, but it's definitely human. The transmission is old, fragmented, but it's definitely human." Elena's mind raced. Who could it be? Who would be transmitting a message through the same channel as the alien signals? She approached the console, her heart pounding in her chest. "Play it," she ordered. The message was garbled at first, the audio crackling and distorted, but as the seconds passed, it became clearer. Elena's eyes widened as the voice became recognizable, though it wasn't one she had ever expected to hear again. "This is Commander Samuel Tesh," the voice said, broken and faint, but unmistakable. "If you are receiving this message, you are not alone. We were the first humans to encounter the alien machines, the ones who call themselves the Watchers. They are not conquerors. They are not invaders. They are executioners." Elena felt the blood drain from her face. The Watchers. The name alone sent chills down her spine. "Whoever you are," Tesh's voice continued, "do not underestimate them. They are patient. They are relentless. They will not stop until they have wiped every trace of humanity from the stars. We tried to warn you, but now it's too late. The Watchers are coming, and they have no mercy." The transmission ended abruptly, leaving only silence in its wake. Elena stood frozen, the weight of the words pressing down on her. The Watchers. They weren't just some random alien species. They were something far more dangerous. They had been watching humanity for far longer than anyone realized, and now they were making their move. "Captain," Garcia said, breaking her reverie, "we have incoming. The alien ship, it's here." Elena turned to the view screen, and her breath caught in her throat. The massive shadow of the alien ship loomed ahead, its dark silhouette blocking out the stars behind it. It was even larger than they had anticipated. An enormous structure, floating like a titan in the darkness of space. It wasn't just one ship. It was a fleet. Dozens, perhaps hundreds, of smaller vessels surrounded the massive mothership, and they were moving toward Earth. "All hands, brace for impact," Elena shouted, her voice commanding, though her heart was racing. "Prepare to engage the enemy." The crew scrambled into action, moving with urgency, knowing the battle ahead was unlike anything they had ever imagined. Elena's mind was focused. They had to survive. Earth had to survive. There was no other option. As the alien fleet drew closer, Elena couldn't shake the words of Commander Tesh. The Watchers weren't conquerors. They were executioners. And humanity was next on their list. But humanity wasn't going to go down without a fight. You said. The hunt had begun. The alien fleet descended upon the Exodus like a storm, a mass of darkness with cold, mechanical precision. Elena's heart hammered in her chest, but she forced herself to focus. The crew was still working, preparing their last line of defense. The Exodus was humanity's strongest ship, but in the face of an enemy this overwhelming, its weapons might not be enough. "Captain," Garcia called, his voice tight. "The fleet's closing in fast. They're locking onto us with some sort of energy weapon." Elena glanced at the view screen. The massive mothership and its swarm of smaller vessels were almost upon them now. They were like vultures circling prey, and Earth was their target. The air on the bridge was thick with tension. Even if they managed to survive this initial attack, Earth wouldn't be far behind. They had to act, and fast. "Target the mothership," Elena ordered, her voice sharp despite the terror threatening to overwhelm her. "Lock on all available weapons and fire on their lidship. We need to send a message. Fight back. Give Earth a chance." The crew rushed to comply. Elena watched as the weapons systems activated, the massive cannons of the Exodus charging up. But even as they prepared to fire, she felt a knot of dread twist in her stomach. The alien ships were too fast, too powerful. What good were their weapons if they couldn't land a single hit? A series of energy beams erupted from the enemy ships, cutting through the emptiness of space with deadly precision. The first wave hit the Exodus, sending the ship lurching. Alarms blared across the bridge as systems flickered, struggling to keep up. The shields were holding, barely, but the force of the impact sent a shudder through the hull. Elena gripped her console harder, her knuckles white. "Captain, shields at 70%. Garcia shouted. "We can't take many more hits like that." The alien ships didn't relent. They kept firing. Each pulse a cold reminder of how outclassed humanity was. Elena could feel her stomach churn, the helplessness threatening to take over, but she couldn't afford to let it show. "Status report," she demanded, fighting to keep her voice steady. "Internal damage to the port side," the engineer reported, his voice strained. "The outer hull is starting to buckle in some sections. Life support systems are starting to fail in some areas. We're losing power." Elena's mind raced. They couldn't survive much longer if the alien ships kept up this assault. But then she remembered Commander Tesh's warning. The Watchers are patient. They are relentless. They hadn't come to conquer. They had come to execute. She had no illusions about the enemy's intentions now. They weren't here to negotiate. They were here to destroy humanity, and they weren't going to stop until the job was done. The thought sent a wave of anger through Elena. Humanity wasn't going to be wiped out without a fight. The galaxy might not be ready for them, but humanity was ready for war. "Captain," Garcia shouted, "there's something wrong with the enemy ships. Their weapons." He paused as he studied the console in disbelief. "They're charging something much bigger. This doesn't look like any weapon we've ever seen." Elena's eyes snapped to the screen. The alien ships were gathering energy in a way that defied all logic. A huge beam, many times larger than the ones they had already launched, was forming in the heart of the mothership. It pulsed with unnatural energy, flickering like lightning before the storm. "Brace for impact," Elena ordered, knowing that if the beam fired, it would wipe them out instantly. But even as she gave the command, she knew it was too late. The alien fleet was about to unleash something far beyond their capabilities to defend against. Just as the beam released, a new signal blasted through the comms. Elena's heart skipped a beat. "Captain," Garcia shouted, his voice urgent. "We're getting a message. It's coming from Earth." The beam of energy surged forward, but before it could strike the Exodus, a massive, blinding flash of light erupted between them and the alien ships. Elena barely had time to register what had happened before the shockwave hit, throwing the Exodus into a violent spin. Everything went dark for a moment, and the ship groaned under the strain. "Status," Elena barked as the lights flickered back to life. "We've lost power to the starboard side," the engineer reported, his voice strained. "But we're still operational." Elena's heart pounded as she forced herself to focus. What had just happened? Had they been saved? The flashes of light had been so bright, she could barely see, but now the alien ships were retreating. The mothership and its smaller vessels were pulling back, retreating into the deep reaches of space, as if they were suddenly afraid. "We're alive," Garcia said, still in shock. "But what just happened?" Elena didn't have an answer, but then the message came through again, cutting through the confusion. "This is Earth's High Command," the voice said, static crackling through the line. "The fleet you encountered was not human, but we have been tracking them for years. This is a global effort. The light you saw, the blast that saved you, is just the beginning. We've been preparing for this. Humanity has been preparing." Elena's mind whirled. There was no way Earth could have anticipated this. No way they could have known what was coming, or could they? Was there something she didn't know? "You need to get back to Earth, Exodus," the voice continued. "We've activated our defenses. The fight is just beginning, but we need you here. Now." Elena couldn't believe what she was hearing. Earth wasn't sitting idly by. It had been preparing. But how had they known what was coming? Who had given them the information? "Set course for Earth," Elena commanded, her voice steady, but her mind racing. "Now, Lieutenant, full speed." The Exodus started its turn, its engines roaring to life as it began the long journey back home. But even as they sped away from the alien fleet, Elena knew that the war had only just begun. The Watchers had made their move. And now, humanity's fury would meet them head-on. The galaxy wouldn't be ready, but humanity would be. The journey back to Earth was tense, filled with anticipation and fear. The alien fleet had retreated, but Elena knew it was only temporary. The Watchers weren't ones to back down easily. The message from Earth's High Command echoed in her mind. Humanity had been preparing. But how? Who had known this was coming? As the Exodus cruised through the stars, every member of the crew worked tirelessly to maintain the ship, repair the damage they had sustained, and prepare for what was to come. Elena couldn't shake the nagging thought that Earth had been waiting for something, but they had never been told what. "Captain," Garcia called from the communications panel. "We've received a new transmission. It's from Earth, but it's different from the previous one. This one is encrypted." Elena's brow furrowed. The cryptic nature of the transmission only made her more uneasy. "Put it through." The screen flickered for a moment before stabilizing, revealing a familiar face, General Petra Lawson, the commanding officer of Earth's military forces. Her expression was grim, the weight of responsibility evident in her eyes. "Captain Ramirez," Lawson said, her voice steady but strained. "I'm glad you're alive. The situation on Earth is more complicated than we anticipated. We've activated our global defense network, but we need your ship to get back to Earth as soon as possible. We don't know how long the Watchers will stay away." Elena's heart skipped a beat. "You're saying the Watchers are still coming?" Lawson nodded. "Yes. We don't have the full picture yet, but the attacks you just faced, those were just the beginning. The Watchers have a larger agenda. We've been tracking them for decades, but we didn't think they would strike so soon. The reason we've been preparing is because we believe they've been watching us, learning from us, and now they're making their move." Elena's mind raced. Everything Tesh had said was falling into place. The Watchers weren't just invaders. They were planners, patient and precise. And now, they were ready to strike. "General, we got to do something," Elena said, her voice firm. "We need to know what they want, and we need to stop them before they destroy everything." "I agree," Lawson replied, "but we need more than just firepower. We need to understand them, and we need to know how to fight back. Earth's defenses are ready, but we can't do it alone. Your ship has vital information that could turn the tide. You're going to have to play a key role in this war." A chill ran down Elena's spine as she processed the weight of the general's words. The Exodus had become humanity's front line in a war they hadn't even known was coming. "We're on our way," Elena said, her resolve hardening. "What do you need us to do?" General Lawson's face softened for just a moment, the weariness of the situation becoming apparent. "We need you to bring back one thing, Captain, a key piece of intelligence. A relic from the first encounter with the Watchers. It's the only chance we have of understanding how to defeat them." Elena's heart sank. A relic? What could it possibly be? "Where is it?" she asked, her mind already racing through possibilities. "There's a research facility on the moon," Lawson replied. "A hidden one. You'll find more information there. But you'll have to move fast. We can't afford to wait much longer." The transmission ended, leaving Elena in a state of stunned silence. A relic. It sounded so simple, but she knew it wasn't. If Earth's military was asking for this, it was something they believed was crucial to their survival. She wasn't sure what kind of relic could hold that much importance, but she knew one thing. They had no time to waste. "Lieutenant Garcia, set course for the moon," Elena said, her voice hard with determination. "We're going to find this relic, and we're going to bring it back. Humanity's future depends on it." The Exodus turned toward the moon, and for the first time in hours, Elena allowed herself a moment to think. The Watchers had been watching humanity for far longer than anyone realized. They had a plan, one that was unfolding piece by piece, and now humanity was part of that plan, whether they were ready or not. As the Exodus continued its journey, Elena couldn't shake the feeling that they were heading straight into a trap. But they had no choice. The fate of humanity was on their shoulders. If they didn't find this relic, Earth's last defense would be a losing battle. With every passing minute, the pressure mounted. The crew worked in silence, their focus laser-sharp. They knew what was at stake. Earth's fate, the fate of their families, the fate of humanity. Everything was riding on this. The moon grew larger in the viewports, a barren, silent world that held secrets buried beneath its surface. Elena knew they were close, too close to fail. As the Exodus made its final approach, Elena's mind was already on the mission ahead. They had to retrieve the relic, and they had to do it before the Watchers came back to finish what they had started. The fate of the galaxy was on the line, and humanity's fury, once silent, was about to roar across the stars. The Exodus landed on the moon's surface in near silence, its landing gear kicking up clouds of ancient lunar dust. The Earth loomed above the horizon like a giant blue eye, watching, waiting. Captain Elena Ramirez stood at the front of the landing ramp, fully suited, helmet in hand, staring at the small entrance hatch carved into a jagged gray cliff nearby. The research facility was invisible to most sensors. Buried deep beneath the moon's crust, it was one of Earth's most closely guarded secrets. She turned to her team, Garcia, Lynn, and Dr. Yusuf, the ship's science officer. "We go in, find the relic, and get out fast. Stay alert. If General Lawson's right, this thing may be our only shot." They nodded. No one spoke much anymore. Not after what they had seen. As they approached the hidden entrance, Lynn used an encoded transmitter to activate the entry door. A quiet hum, then a hiss. The rock parted like a mouth opening slowly. Inside, cold steel corridors stretched downward into the moon's dark belly. The team advanced with care. Dim lights flickered on as they moved deeper. Signs of abandonment were everywhere. Old gear, half-written logs, broken screens, but nothing recent. It was like the place had been sealed away and forgotten, or hidden. Dr. Yusuf stopped near a console embedded in the wall. "This facility hasn't been active in over 30 years, he said, dusting off a cracked datapad. "But the power core is still running. There's something deeper inside. It's locked behind multiple levels of clearance." "Can you bypass it?" Elena asked. Yusuf nodded slowly. I can try. While he worked, Alina scanned the room. There were strange drawings on the walls, etched into the steel. They didn't look human. Curved lines, circles within circles, like maps, but not of any star system she knew. Something alien. Familiar, though. She'd seen similar patterns in the signal the Watchers had sent. Were these warnings? Or blueprints? "Captain," Garcia whispered, "I've got movement on my scanner." Alina's blood ran cold. Alive. Could be drones. Or worse, it's faint, but it's coming from below us. Yusuf's screen pinged. "I'm in. Opening vault access now." A hidden panel in the far wall slid open, revealing the narrow elevator shaft, lit by a single blue strip of light. Without a word, they stepped inside and descended. The elevator stopped with a soft jolt. The doors opened into a vast chamber that took their breath away. At the center stood a tall obelisk, smooth, metallic, humming with quiet energy. Floating above it was a cube-shaped artifact, spinning slowly in place. It pulsed with light every few seconds. Soft, rhythmic, alive. "That's it," Yusuf whispered. "That's the relic." Garcia approached it carefully. "Is it safe to touch?" "I wouldn't," Yusuf replied quickly. "Let me scan it first." As he ran diagnostics, the cube responded. It began projecting holograms, images of galaxies, stars, ancient battles, fleets burning, civilizations crumbling. Then, Earth, a simulation of Earth being consumed by the same energy the Watchers had used on the Exodus. The message was clear. "This thing, it's a record," Yusuf breathed. "A warning left by another species. The Watchers have done this before, countless times. They destroy those they deem unworthy." "But look," Alina said, pointing at a flickering section of the hologram. It showed a fleet, human ships, thousands of them, upgraded with strange tech, clearly not of Earth. Fighting back. Winning. "This relic doesn't just record," she said slowly. "It remembers. And it teaches." Yusuf nodded, stunned. "It's an AI, a learning core, probably from one of the first civilizations the Watchers destroyed. It must have survived. It's been waiting for someone like us." Suddenly, alarms blared. Garcia checked his scanner. "We've got company. Incoming. Something's entered moon orbit." Alina's eyes narrowed. "They followed us." Yusuf rushed to the relic. "I can't remove it, not safely, but I can connect it to our systems. We can download its data. If we have 2 more minutes." Alina drew her weapon. "You've got one." Garcia, Lynn, cover the entrance. The 2 soldiers rushed to the elevator. The distant echo of something mechanical clanging through the shaft grew louder. Then a blast. Part of the wall blew open, and sleek black drones poured into the chamber, hovering like insects with glowing red eyes. Alina fired first. A drone shattered, but more replaced it. The air filled with the sound of energy weapons and shouts. Lynn took a hit, falling back as Garcia pulled her to safety. "Almost done," Yusuf shouted, fingers flying over the console. One of the drones dived toward the relic, but before it could touch it, the cube reacted. A flash of brilliant white energy burst out, vaporizing the drone instantly. Then the relic spoke, not with a voice, but directly into their minds. "You are not them. You resist. You protect. You may yet survive." The cube lowered gently into Yusuf's hands. "I think it chose us," he whispered. Alina didn't hesitate. "Let's get out of here." The team scrambled out of the chamber, the drones retreating now, as if sensing the relic's power. Once back aboard the Exodus, Yusuf linked the relic to the ship's systems. Its data poured in: maps, designs, knowledge, weapons that could counter Watcher tech, shielding methods, even predictions of their movements. "This," Yusuf said, breathless, "this changes everything." But the relic wasn't done. It sent a pulse across the ship, activating dormant systems, enhancing the Exodus's core, rewriting its engines, evolving it. "What's happening?" Elena demanded. "It's upgrading us," Yusuf said, "preparing us for war." On the bridge, Earth Command came through again. "Captain Ramirez, the Watchers have returned. They're here. We're under attack. We need every ship ready. Now." Elena stared at the relic, now glowing brighter, like a heart beginning to beat. She turned to Garcia. "Set course for Earth. We're not running this time." Garcia smirked. "We're fighting back." "No," she said, fire in her voice. "We're going to remind them what happens when you cornered humanity." As the Exodus powered up, faster, stronger than ever, the stars seemed to tremble. Humanity had been watched, judged, targeted. Now, it was their turn. The fury of Earth was coming, and the galaxy would never forget.